Malaysia ready to provide additional aid for Palestinian humanitarian mission. Bank Rakyat announces 15% dividend for 2023. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. My name is Daryl Baptist and you're tuning into Malaysia Tonight. We begin tonight's broadcast with some rather positive news for Palestine. The government has expressed its readiness to provide additional assistance for humanitarian missions to the Palestinian people after Israel allowed the delivery of aid through border crossings with the northern part of the Gaza Strip. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the additional assistance for Palestine could be carried out because the government still has the allocation for it.
Bayar dari sana lah.
Di mana?
Di sepadan Rafah.
Okey.
Memang ada. Israel soal bagi peluang itu memang tanggungjawab dia. Dia dah khianat sekian lama. Orang dah hampir kebuluran. Orang nak cakap nak cari semata. Itu tekanan kita terus.
He said this to reporters after performing Friday prayers with 2,000 congregants at the Sungai Ara Al-Huda Mosque in Bayan Lepas near Georgetown today. The media today reported an announcement from the office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, stating that Israel will allow the delivery of temporary aid through its border with the northern part of the Gaza Strip. The Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry, or KPDN, has recorded seizures totaling 558,956 ringgit for various offences under Ops Pantau 2024 nationwide from 12 March until yesterday. Minister Dato' Armizan Muhammad Ali said this was the result of inspections conducted on 38,126 premises, including Ramadan and Aidil Fitri bazaars, public markets, wet markets, hypermarkets, supermarkets, grocery stores and online sales. He said during the same period, the ministry received 1,216 complaints from consumers.
Berkaitan dengan aduan tentang harga barang, cuma harga barang ini kita serve notice kepada peniaga. Begitu juga ada juga aduan tentang dengan alat timbang sukat pun ada. Ada juga aduan berkaitan dengan promosi yang mengelirukan. Dan juga tanda harga. Tidak meletakkan tanda harga itu.
He said this at a press conference after visiting the ministry's Enforcement Coordination Centre, or ECC, in Putrajaya today. According to Dato' Armizan, Ops Pantau was fully executed through the Integrated Enforcement Management System, or IEMS, to enable prompt and effective follow-up actions. Elaborating, he said the IEMS was fully deployed early this year, following Phase 2 of its development process. This involved enhancing inspection and compounding, modules for price and supply supervision, intellectual properties, enforcement management, and mobile application. With weather conditions in Malaysia still producing some scorching hot days, it's no wonder the Johor government has assured that there will be no water rationing during Aidil Fitri, despite a drop in water levels of the state's three main dams caused by hot weather. Menteri Besar Dato' On Hafiz Ghazi said various plans had been drawn up to ensure adequate water supply, including requesting the State Water Operation Ranhill, SAG Sendirian Berhad, to provide tanker lorries and static water tanks.
Tapi dari segi Ops Aidilfitri yang kita buat bersama Ranhill SAG, 27 lori tangki dan 294 tangki statik sudah digerakkan di setiap daerah-daerah. Jadi itu langkah-langkah awal berjaga-jaga supaya kalau ada isu tekanan air itu, tangki-tangki ini dan lori-lori ini sudah digerakkan untuk mengurangkan impak kesan daripada.
He was met after launching the Jelajah Jualan Kasih and Aidil Fitri Contribution Distribution Program at Dataran Dato' Jalok, Banud in Pontian today. Dato' On Hafiz further said the state government is discussing the possibility of cloud seeding to address the current hot weather, but stressed that resolving the issue of low water pressure remains a priority. On Tuesday, State Works, Transport, Infrastructure and Communications Committee Chairman Muhammad Fazli Muhammad Saleh reportedly said that the water levels at the Bekok, Machap and Sembrong dams have significantly decreased, but they have not reached critical levels yet. Plus, Malaysia Berhad will improve 18 smart lane locations on the North-South Expressway, or the Plus Highway, to ensure smooth traffic flow during this year's Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebration. Plus Operation Senior General Manager Muhammad Yusof Abdul Aziz said among them was to improve notification and warning signs in terms of design and quantity. Smart Lane is introduced to increase the lane capacity at identified routes to help alleviate congestion during peak hours and improve traffic flow along the highway.
Kita tidak boleh menggunakan laluan kecemasan tanpa sebab-sebab yang tertentu. Laluan kecemasan khas sebagaimana yang kita faham. Kecuali di lokasi smart lane. Kepada semua yang menggunakan smart lane, jika ada ambulans, ada polis atau ada autoriti-autoriti lain yang ingin menggunakan laluan tersebut sebagai laluan cepat kepada mereka untuk memberi rescue, berilah kerjasama.
He said this to reporters during a survey of the smart lane location between Slim River and Sungai at kilometre 367.3 to kilometre 354 northbound near Slim River today. He added the variable message signs, or VMS, will also be made available with flashing green lights on the signages as an indication that the smart lane is being activated. More good news for commuters, this time in regards to trains. KTM Commuter will be increasing the train frequency for the Tanjung Malim KL Central route from 1 train per hour to every 15 minutes, effective 22nd April. Transport Minister Anthony Locke said the Klang Valley Double Tracking Project Phase 1 was completed on 31st March, which now allows trains to run every 15 minutes during the peak morning and evening hours.
Jadi ini akan memudahkan perjalanan untuk pekerja-pekerja yang menggunakan KTM Commuter di antara laluan KL Central dengan Tanjung Malim ini.
He said this at a press conference after distributing gift packs to Electric Train Service, or ETS, and KTM commuter passengers at KL Central today. Present was his deputy, Dato' Hasbi Habibullah. Locke said by July, the increased train frequency would run throughout the day. He said currently, KTM trains only run from Tanjung Malim to Sungai Buloh and KL Central. He said Phase 2 of the Klang Valley Double Tracking Project, which involves extending the runway by 44 kilometres from Simpang Pelabuhan Klang to Pelabuhan Klang, would commence on 29th April. Coming up next, PTPTN announces 3.6% dividend for National Education Savings Scheme. Bank Rakyat Groups today announced a dividend distribution of 15%, amounting to 424.62 million ringgit for the financial year ended 31st December 2023. The group also recorded a higher profit before tax and zakat (PBTZ) of 1.76 billion ringgit for the financial year ended 31st December 2023, an increase of 3.80% compared with 1.70 billion ringgit a year ago. In a statement today, the group attributed the higher profit to strong fundamentals and its focus on core activities despite the uncertain global economic outlook and challenging banking environment. The statement said the commendable performance was underpinned by the group's robust financing and investment activities, current account, savings account and investment account, solid growth as well as adequate provisioning during the year. The group's core income surged by 12.90% to 6.67 billion ringgit against 5.90 billion ringgit in the previous year, attributed to solid growth in gross financing balance of 3.82% year-on-year across all business segments. Bank Rakyat's total assets grew by 1.16% to 118.69 billion ringgit versus 117.33 billion ringgit a year ago. mainly driven by a solid growth in gross financing balance, offset by lower net investment position. The National Higher Education Fund, or PTPTN, announced a dividend of 3.6% for the National Education Savings Scheme, or SSPNI, for 2023 today. Higher Education, or MOHE Minister, Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, said the dividend will involve an estimated allocation of 357.65 million ringgit that will benefit 6.25 million SPPN accounts, adding that the payout was higher compared to the 3.05% announced for 2022.
Ini sekaligus menunjukkan kecekapan PTPTN dalam pengurusan dana simpanan dengan efektif berlandaskan tadbir urus yang cemerlang, berintegriti dan strategik bagi memastikan pulangan yang optimum diberikan kepada para pelanggan.
The minister also said the scheme received 3.15 billion ringgit in deposits, with 513 and 2 new accounts recorded in 2023, and the scheme has accumulated a total of 17.39 billion ringgit in funds, with 6.25 million accounts from 2004 to December 31st, 2023. PTPTN also noted that the dividend payout was competitive, as it was higher compared to the interest rates of savings or fixed deposits accounts in local banks, which is between 2.05 to 3.45%. It also pointed out that such a dividend rate was more profitable and ensured the scheme remained competitive and relevant against other products in the market. The government has, through the Investment and Trade Action Coordination Committee, or JTPPP, meeting today, discussed the proposed revision of the Industrial Coordination Act 1975. Investment, Trade and Industry, or MITI Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz, through a post on X, said the Act had never been revised since 1976. The Industrial Coordination Act of 1975 was introduced with the aim of maintaining orderly development and growth in the country's manufacturing sector. This act requires manufacturing companies with shareholder funds amounting to 2.5 million ringgit and above, or that employ 75 or more full-time workers, to apply for a manufacturing license from the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, or MIDA, an agency under MITI. The minister noted that since his appointment at MITI, one of their focuses has been the immediate implementation of investment projects involving industry as well as export commitments. The 6th JTPPP meeting today also discussed the Korean Integrated Green Industrial Park. Natural rubber production fell by 2% in February 2024 to 29,691 tonnes against 30,287 tonnes in January 2024. The Statistics Department Malaysia, or DOSM, said year-on-year comparison recorded a 9.1% rise from 27,209 tonnes in February 2023. In a statement today, Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Muhammad Uzir Mahidin said 85.7% of February 2024 production was contributed by smallholders and 14.3% by the estates sector. February 2024's total natural rubber inventory rose by 11.8% to 229,719 tonnes versus 205,498 tonnes in the previous month. Malaysia's natural rubber exports rose by 27.8% for the month under review to 55,082 tonnes against January's 2024's 43,111 tonnes, with China accounting for 52.3% of total exports. According to the Malaysia Rubber Board's February 2024 digest, the Kuala Lumpur rubber market saw prices surge throughout the month as SMR20 recorded a new high of 773.50 sen per kg since 2017. It said the positive sentiment was boosted by a weaker ringgit against the US dollar and heightened expectations of tight rubber supply from major producer Thailand owing to bad weather concerns and a fungus outbreak. The Malaysian Palm Oil Board, or MPOB, has urged palm oil industry players to grasp the golden opportunity to export palm tocotrienol products to China after obtaining the approval to register the product in the Republic recently. Following the approval received on 13th March, palm tocotrienol, commonly known to contain vitamin E, is now authorized for exports and use in food applications within China. Elaborating further through a statement released, MPOB Director General Datuk Dr. Ahmad Parviz Gulam Kadir said the approval also gave the opportunity to industry players to capitalize the potential to significantly strengthen their market presence and revenue in one of the world's largest markets. He said the approval is one of the biggest gifts awarded by the Chinese government to the Malaysian oil palm industry in conjunction with the 50th anniversary celebration of the diplomatic ties between Malaysia and China, symbolizing a strong and enduring friendship as well as mutual respect and cooperation. It also exemplifies the strategic collaboration between government bodies and industry players in navigating the complexities of global market access and regulatory approvals. More news in regards to China. Malaysia-China relations are currently at their best and can be further strengthened through cooperation that benefits the people of both countries. Deputy Dean of Student Affairs and alumni of the Faculty of Law and International Relations of Sultan Zainal Abidin University, Dr. Wan Rohila Ganti Wan Abdul Gapar, said Malaysia, which has had diplomatic relations with China for the past 50 years, does not need to get involved in disputes between China and the United States. According to Dr. Wan Rohila, based on a survey carried out by the Merdeka Centre, it was found that Malaysians' acceptance of Chinese investment in the country is very good. She said that fair and transparent cooperation is the key to ensuring that the interests of both parties are well maintained. She added that the exchange of knowledge and technology between Malaysia and China could also greatly benefit both countries. Commenting on claims that national sovereignty is threatened when Malaysia allows Chinese investment into the country, Dr. Wan Rohila said that this issue should not arise because every Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, already had strict and clear terms and conditions. Next, Taiwan races against time to rescue 18 still trapped as 400 aftershocks rock island. But before that, we go to Korea. An early voting for South Korea's parliamentary elections kicked off today ahead of the election day on 10th April. The early voting, which was first adopted in the 2014 local elections for the nationwide election, was scheduled to continue for 2 days through to Saturday. Of some 44.28 million eligible voters, those who wish to cast ballots before the election day will be allowed to vote at 3,565 polling stations across the country from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time. The early voting turnout stood at 8% at 1 p.m. local time, higher than 5.98% for the parliamentary elections in 2020. According to the Gallup Korea survey commissioned by the National Election Commission, 78.9% replied that they would go to the polls without fail. It was up 2.4 percentage points from the previous survey and almost unchanged compared to 79.0% for the parliamentary elections 4 years ago. The result was based on a poll of 1,511 voters conducted for 2 days through Monday. It had a plus and minus 2.5 percentage points in margin of error, with a 95% confidence level. And now updates from Taiwan. 9 people were freed from a winding cave in Taiwan's mountainous east, while 2 others were located but feared dead, as rescuers pressed on with their search today for those still missing after the island's biggest earthquake in 25 years. The official death toll from Wednesday's magnitude 7.4 quake still stood at 10, but the government of Hualien County, the hardest hit area, said 2 more people on a hiking trail were found with no signs of life. though their deaths could not immediately be verified. As of Friday, hundreds of people were still stranded around the mountains that flank the county, with roads blocked off by landslides and rockfalls. However, most were known to be safe, as rescuers deployed helicopters, drones, and smaller teams with dogs to reach them. The county government said rescuers had found 9 people alive in a cave popular with tourists called the Tunnel of Nine Turns. The National Disaster Agency said 10 people had been killed and 1,106 injured so far. More than 700 were stranded but accounted for, while authorities had lost contact with 18. In sports, Kedah handed 3-point ban may have national license revoked. Luck was not on the side of Malaysia's under-23 squad as they lost 2-1 to China in a closed international friendly match at Qatar University, Doha last night. For the record, this was the second defeat for Harimau Muda in 3 international friendly matches against China after winning 1-0 and losing 2-1 in the clashes in Shanghai last December. China broke the deadlock in the 26th minute through a penalty kick by Aife Erding Aisekaya before Fergus Tierney scored the equaliser for the Harimau Muda squad, coached by Juan Torres Garrido in the 61st minute. However, a second penalty kick awarded to China saw Aisekaya calmly score his second personal goal in the 85th minute to confirm the team's victory. The Harimau Muda, preparing for the 2024 Under-23 Asian Cup in Qatar from 15th April to 3rd May, will play the final warm-up match against the home team there this Sunday. In the Under-23 Asian Cup campaign, Malaysia, who were drawn in Group D, will begin with a match against Uzbekistan on 17th April, followed by Vietnam on 20th April and Kuwait on 23rd April, with a mission to advance to at least the quarter-finals. More bad news, I'm afraid, for another Malaysian football club. Kedah Darul Aman FC, or KDA FC, have been handed a 3-point deduction for the 2024-2025 Super League season and fined 50,000 ringgit for failing to fully settle the salary arrears for 2023. First Instance Body, or FIB, Chairman Sheikh Mohammed Nasir Sheikh Mohammed Sharif said in a statement that the punishment was made after KDA FC were found to have failed to meet the conditions set for the full settlement of the salary arrears on 30th March. He said the FIB takes note of the letter from KDA FC regarding settling 50% of the total salary arrears for 2023, as well as the letter of agreement for scheduling the payment of the remaining salary arrears that was signed by 75% of the players and officials involved. However, Sheikh Mohammed Nasir said it still does not meet the conditions that were set, which is the full settlement of the salary arrears for the year 2023. He added that the punishment meted out to KDA FC was effective yesterday, based on Article 2.4, subsection C of the Malaysian Football League, or MFL Club Licensing Rules 2023 edition. He said that if KDA FC failed to fully settle the salary arrears by 5 p.m. on 20th April, the team's national license could be revoked, thus making them ineligible to compete in the 2024-2025 Super League season, which will kick off on 10th May. Elsewhere in the world of football, it was heartache for Manchester United fans, but Chelsea fans rejoiced as Cole Palmer scored twice deep into stoppage time to complete a hat-trick as Chelsea stunned Manchester United 4-3 yesterday, all but ending their hopes of qualifying for next season's Champions League. Erik ten Hag's men appeared set for a vital win after storming back from 2-0 down to lead 3-2 in a breathless game containing a combined 47 shots. But boyhood United fan Palmer turned the game on its head, levelling from the penalty spot in the 100th minute and then netting the winner moments later in a frantic end to the game at Stamford Bridge. The former Manchester City player has now scored 19 goals for Chelsea since he switched clubs on 1st September. United was still ahead at 99 minutes and 17 seconds, the latest a side has ever led in a Premier League match that they have gone on to lose. The bitter defeat leaves 6th place United 11 points off 4th place Aston Villa, with just 8 games to play and facing a season outside Europe's elite club competition. But it lifts Mauricio Pochettino's side to 10th spot in the table, keeping them in the hunt for a European place after an inconsistent season. The bitter defeat leaves Ten Hag under mounting pressure at United in just his 2nd season in charge, with new co-owner Jimmy Ratcliffe yet to decide whether to stick or twist. Their only remaining hope of silverware is in the FA Cup. They face Coventry in the semi-finals later this month for the right to face City or Chelsea in the final at Wembley. Meanwhile, Alexis McAllister fired Liverpool back to the top of the Premier League as the Argentine's wonder goal inspired a tense 3-1 win against lowly Sheffield United. Jurgen Klopp's side were growing anxious after Darwin Núñez's early opener was cancelled out by Conor Bradley's own goal in the second half. McAllister eased the nerves around Anfield with a brilliant finish from the edge of the area, and Cody Gakpo sealed the points in the closing moments. On a potentially pivotal evening in the title race, Liverpool moved 2 points clear of second-placed Arsenal, with 8 games left for each of the 3 teams involved in a gripping battle for supremacy. Arsenal's 2-0 win against Luton had knocked Liverpool out of pole position on Wednesday, with third-place Manchester City's 4-1 rout of Aston Villa keeping them in the hunt. But Liverpool, unbeaten in their last 28 home league matches, are now a step closer to being crowned English champions for a record equaling 20th time and first since 2020. Klopp's treble chasers have already won the League Cup and face Atalanta in the Europa League quarter-finals as they eye a memorable farewell for the German in his last season. However, they will have to improve on this erratic display to hold off Arsenal and champions City, who are 3 points adrift of Liverpool. Liverpool head to Manchester United in the league on Sunday for a crucial clash with their bitter rivals. And wrapping up tonight's sports segment, we travel to Japan, who will be hosting this week's Grand Prix, hoping a calendar shift to one of the country's peak tourist seasons and cheap currency may attract more international visitors to an event that traditionally has drawn a mainly domestic audience. Japan's weak yen, currently at multi-decade low against the US dollar, is also driving a rebound in tourists following strict travel curbs imposed during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Formula One race has been moved from its usual autumn slot during the typhoon season, when heavy rains have marred the spectacle in the past. The event now coincides with the peak of Japan's world-renowned cherry blossom or sakura bloom. The race at the Suzuka track, a favorite among drivers due to its technical twists and high-speed straights, drew its biggest crowd in nearly 2 decades last year, driven partly by a bounce of overseas visitors. An estimated 40,000 tickets were sold to international visitors last year, a 4-fold jump since the years immediate before the pandemic. In order to promote the race internationally, And that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, Malaysia ready to provide additional aid for Palestinian humanitarian mission. Till then, I'm Darryl Baptist. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and always remember, RTM, teman setia anda.